Instead of waiting until you die now. Die now to the personal pronouns. Die now to your big ego trip and story of myself and how horrible or how great or wondrous. And by dying now, wake up to the beauty of this moment and realizing how much bigger you are than your story. Instead of waiting until you die now. Die now to the personal pronouns. Die now to your big ego trip and story of myself and how horrible or how great or wondrous. And by dying now, wake up to the beauty of this moment and realizing how much bigger you are than your story. It's like a glide path. It's like a plane taking off. I was thinking of Evel Knievel taking off with, on his motorcycle and jumping over cars or whatever. So you need a kind of glide path of practice, but then ultimately you're just resting in awareness and there's no place to go, there's nothing to do, and there's no special something you're supposed to attain because it's all special. There's nothing that's not special when you drop underneath thinking. So in a certain way, it takes us into the realm of the poetic, where sort of prose basically peters out, that more words won't do anything more. But the great poets, of course, their challenge, it seems to me, has always been to take what's impossible to put into words and put it into words. I'm thinking of people like Emily Dickinson, who was one of my favorite poets, and she recognized that a lot of the time we're at war with ourselves. We're of two minds, we're fighting with each other. Deals with these personal pronouns that are so problematic. And the Buddha is famous for having said, nothing is to be clung to as I, me, and mine. He said his entire 40 years of teaching could be encapsulated in that one sentence. Nothing is to be clung to, the verb to cling, as self, as I, me, or mine. Well, easy to say, not so easy to do. That's why we need the discipline. A lot of people, all of us really, we're conflicted a lot of the time. And sometimes maybe we even hear ourselves saying something like, I'm of two minds about that. Right? I want it, I don't want it, I like it, I hate it. Here's Emily Dickinson, one of my favorite poems. And of course, she apparently suffered a great deal in her own life. Me, from myself to banish, had I art, impregnable my fortress unto all heart. But since myself assault me, how have I peace except by subjugating consciousness? And since we're mutual monarch, how this be except by abdication me of me? So very powerful evocation of how much we struggle with ourselves and don't like each other, or even hate, detest parts of ourselves and try to hide them from people. And she just does that so amazingly as a poet. If those were notes, it would be a masterpiece, of music. She takes these totally simple little English pronouns and plays with them in a way that's like mind-blowing, and then drops it into the impossibility at the end of like, me from me, I banish myself. Now, a lot of people, we do that a lot and live lives of tremendous pain and suffering because we haven't reconciled the warfare between me and myself. And what the meditation practice is saying is, there is no war between you and yourself. The awareness can hold that me and myself, and the awareness is the unifying factor. And then you see these are just play of thoughts and emotions, and they have no actuality beyond what you nurture them or feed them with. They are just comings and goings that aren't the full story. They may have some partial truth, but they're not the full story. And if you don't want to live in alienation from yourself for your entire life, then you have to, as Wordsworth said, reconcile discordant elements and make them move in one society.
If we're not the thoughts, and if we're not the totality of awareness, what are we?
Well, we're closer to the totality of awareness.
That's
embodied.
Interesting.
We're embodied. That's what I would say. And then beyond that, language gives out, or we don't know who we are. We are the universe's way of looking at itself. In this particular corner of the universe, at least, humanity has an amazing role in the universe that we shouldn't disregard. We are geniuses. We're all geniuses. So here's another poem from Derek Walcott, another wonderful, incredible poet from the island of St. Lucia, who won the Nobel Prize some years ago. And it's kind of like the opposite of the Emile Dickinson. So I like to use the two of them sometimes in tandem. And this poem is called Love After Love. Do you know it? Okay, it's called Love After Love. The time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror. And each will smile at the others, welcome, and say, sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to yourself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, who you have ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. And this is the classic last line. Sit. Feast on your life.
Beautiful. Beautiful celebration of life.
Yeah, awesome. In very few words, and that's what great poets do, is they can take what's really impossible to put into words and